Okay, chat. I am very excited to be casting the games of DeWalt in the ASL qualifiers. If you are a fan of StarCraft 1 history, like I personally am, you know, StarCraft 1 in Korea, it did have a good amount of non-Koreans, Europeans, people from North America, participating in the Korean Star Leagues, or at least trying to play and qualify in them. That did go down over time, though. I mean, when we first started out in StarCraft 1, XDS Gur, or Guillaume Patry, was the Star League champion. We had great players like Elke, who moved on to poker. All sorts of players came in and made StarCraft in Korea an international esport. But that slowly went down over time. One of the last foreigners, actually last two foreigners now that I think of it, in Korea before the launch of StarCraft 2 were Noni and Rhett, and I guess actually Idra. What am I saying? So 3, excuse me. Those guys didn't manage to achieve anywhere near as much as the early StarCraft 1 foreign pros out here. Now, when StarCraft 2 came out, that really incentivized a lot of people to switch into StarCraft 2 as there were more global esports opportunities. And StarCraft 1 basically shrank into a very insular Korea thing as StarCraft 2's lifespan continued on. But with the launch of StarCraft Remastered and that reinvigorating a lot of the StarCraft 1 competitive scene, we have seen some incredible players rise up to the top of the foreign ranks. The top 2 players outside of China, so the top 2 in Europe in this case, would be Boneth and DeWalt. And DeWalt has been in Korea for about the last month and has just played in the ASL qualifiers. ASL, by the way, starting in a week. We are going to be, by the way, Artosis and I, casting that on Patreon as always, so be sure to check that out. But DeWalt managed to get me his replays, and so I'll be casting the games, or at least the significant ones, for you guys here today. This is DeWalt versus Tank. Now, Tank is an accomplished League of Legends professional gamer here in Korea, but is active and competitive in StarCraft 1. This is true for a lot of people who are competitive in any game out here. StarCraft 1 is kind of the core, I don't know, esport origin story, whatever you want to say. Everybody grew up playing StarCraft. League of Legends also now has that status out here, too. DeWalt, a Russian player, extremely talented, has a very wide range of play. He shows a lot of promise here. So we're going to go into Game 1. It is on Vermeer. And by the way, if you like this content, please subscribe to the YouTube. We'll be doing more StarCraft 1, StarCraft 2, and in the future, Stormgate content when that game eventually comes out. And if you like this shirt I'm wearing, please check out tastelessthreads.com. So we're going to be going into Game 1 on Vermeer. This is an excellent map, a map that is a 4-player map, one of our newer maps, but I think it does seem like map editors in general have started to steer a bit towards kind of safer, more standard play. We've definitely had some crazy, let me get the colors sorted here, some crazy out there maps, but this is definitely a good map that if you were a new player, you could pick up on and have some pretty good games. We've got Tank over here in the top right in the red. And down here in the bottom left, in the white, is DeWalt. By the way, if you want to find DeWalt on Twitch, he does stream there. His ID is twitch.tv/DeWalt TV. So, you know, this is a PvP. Obviously, in PvP, one of the, I guess, burdens of the matchup for both sides is that there's a bit of ambiguity about what tech direction players are going to take. Your opponent, you know, having a core can go from a Citadel into Dark Templars, can go into a Robo, to Observers, or Observer Shuttle Reaver, or just Shuttle Reaver or Reaver. Or you can just expand. You can 3-gate. And a lot of these interactions with the build orders, they're kind of hard around the edges. And so a lot of early game PvP really is a bit of a poker match of trying to disguise what you're doing, maybe even bluff, and then figure out, do you want to go all in? Do you want to try to play it safe? What exactly are you going to do? The two main branches in the matchup are Pylon Gateway Gas or Double Gateway. And so generally on the maps with the smaller ramps, we do tend to see, actually I guess it's true on both maps with small ramps, big ramps, and even no ramps. Gate Gas is the more common way to play. 2-gate is still viable, and we do see that at pro levels. But in this case, they're both going to be going for Gateway Cybernetics Core. We'll see in a second here. Are they both going to get Zealots? Seems like DeWalt actually is... Oh, no, he is going to get a Zealot as well. Okay. It's very uncommon nowadays to not get the Zealot out early on, because if you do get proxy-gated, it's too hard to hold. DeWalt went with a cross-spawn scout, as you can see here. So clearly he has one build order set if he finds them in the opposite part of the map, whereas if they're in the other two locations, which would be in closer proximity, by the way, he would be going for something a little bit different. But they are both going to scout each other. And now we're going to see that moment that I was trying to highlight earlier, is that, all right, you both have the confirmation that it is gateway into core. So it's going to be fast gas builds. The probes are going to stay in here until they at least see the cybernetics core spinning to confirm that Dragoon range is being made. There are tricks where you go for air weapons and cancel. You can also just cancel Dragoon range straight up, since you get all the money back once you do that. And then they're going to leave before those Dragoons come out. Or maybe tank is, in fact, not. Which this is, I would say, a mistake here. It looked like he wanted to make a circle around here, but it's going to get blocked by the pylon. This is a very deliberate pylon right here to stop that. Now, the red probe here from tank is going to stay inside the base a little bit longer. Oh, my God, it might get out. No, it looks like he can corner it. But this is extra scouting time. So the question is... Oh, and he's going to go for a Citadel of Adun here. So, DT Tech is going to be the play. Now, DeWalt goes for his own DT Tech later. Now, this is kind of a tricky play. I've seen this before when the probe stays in the base a little bit longer. A lot of times when you're in their base for a longer period of time, you're confirming that they're not going DT. Because a lot of times when players go DT, they want to get it out extremely quickly. But a late DT can sometimes be even deadlier than an early DT because he might not end up getting the detection that he needs. Whereas DeWalt is actually in the dark, and therefore may end up assuming that DTs are coming anyways. By the way, DT versus DT can end up in some of the craziest games you could imagine. I'm trying to resist my impulses, by the way, to pause this replay or do anything that's going to break the immersion here. I almost did it for a second as I wanted to check a few things. What DeWalt is doing is he's forcing his Dragoons, which have range, by the way, so they're better at fighting than Tank's Dragoons. Tank canceled range here. Now he's going to see the Nexus coming. So in his mind, it could either be DT Forge, it could be a Robo, but he's going to try to generate pressure. He's bringing his own Dragoon up here. And I do want to point out, this is actually looking pretty, in some ways, bad for DeWalt, because the reality is that he doesn't have a Forge. He's kind of playing, you know, a little bit of a gambly way. That's not the most articulate way to put it, but you know what I'm saying. Like, this is kind of a risky thing to do, but he is going to breach up here. He is going to see the DT. Now, one thing to note, there's no way for him to fight the DT, but at the same time, it is possible for DeWalt to just block the ramp. We'll see if he does that. One DT blocking a ramp can stop another DT from getting up there. He's going to try to buy time. And this is going to cause the probes to be pulled. What DeWalt is going to need to do here is try to get as many probe kills as possible. And that tank with a really good block here. Like, really nicely done. This is really good control here by him. Is basically slowing this down. Now, one thing about him coming up into the main is he's identified that it's only one gateway, and he saw the one DT defending. So DeWalt has actually bought himself a lot of time. You got to wonder what would happen if the other DT had gone around. And these DTs are going to get down here. I see a cannon that'll finish in the main in time. This will finish, but not in time to stop the DT. It'll finish maybe in time for it to spot it. And now the main is naked. The DT is going to come in here now, and this could be it. The DT over here to block the ramp is going to be key, and you can see he's trying to right-click up there, can't get it done. Blocked, denied, runs down, goes in for the kill. The DT could try to come up here, and he's going to get in the main. Oh, stuck on the probe for a second. It's picked off, and that is going to be GG. Man. PvP is funny like that. I understand a lot of pros say that it is better to try to get your DT to defend if you see the Dragoon pressure. I do wonder what would happen. had the DT gone across the map and maybe started trying to kill DeWalt's main, and maybe he can recover with a DT of his own. I guess the problem there, though, is that you don't actually have, you know, any way to keep your pylon alive in your main. You could use probes, but that's that. So Tank loses game 1. DeWalt takes that. On this short break, guys, I just want to plug our merch here. Besides the shirt you see here, we've got over 50 different designs. 50, I think. Here's one of them. Cool GG shirt you can get. They come available in all sorts of cool colors. So maybe you think you can't pull off a certain color. Here's an APM shirt. And here's our final shirt I'm going to show you guys on the break. Tasteless Virgin Mary shirt. All cool stuff. I'm trying to make merch that you could actually wear out and about. That, you know, shows what you like, but doesn't just go like gamer. Like, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to go now into game 2. The first game was DT versus DT. Got a little crazy there at the end. DeWalt winning with the DT bypassing the cannons, getting into the main, and countering Tank's DTs, who ultimately ran into DeWalt's blocking DT on the ramp. One of the kind of nuanced moments in PvP. We're moving on now to Neo Sylphid. This is another great map if you want to try to learn the game. This is a map that really allows a very different type of standard play. On this map, you do not have a high ground area. It does actually change the matchup PvP quite a bit. By the way, Tank down here in the bottom left corner, DeWalt at top center. So when you have any sort of ramp, you have that Brood War high ground range unit advantage. There's the possibility to miss when firing from the low ground onto the high ground. There's actually always the slightest possibility to miss a shot in Brood War. It's so rare it almost never happens, but you'll notice it when it does because casuals will kind of, you know, point it out. But yeah, I mean, if you're on the high ground, you have a big defender's advantage. Whereas if you're on a map where there's no ramp, suddenly somebody has more Dragoons than you. They can sometimes just kick in your entrance, come in there and kill you. And so it does change the way that development works in the matchup quite a bit. So we're going to have a gateway go down on both sides. We'll see if anybody elects to do a 2-gate like 10-12 or instead go for the more common gateway into gas. Tank again. Oops.
Damn tassels. So hot right now.
Thank you for buying the merch. I forgot to turn off alerts.
Someone just purchased Get Good Scrub Smile Cuffed Beanie and one other item.
Thank you. All right, I paused alerts. Sorry, YouTube. We have DeWalt coming down here. And he's going to be scouting in the bottom right location. This is a 3-player map, by the way. And meanwhile, Tank's going to come up here and go up and find his opponent first. We're going to wait and see if they get the standard Zealot. There are temptations, by the way, if you scout them right away, to maybe skip the Zealot. Just go right into more Dragoons. And now DeWalt, who's poked into the bottom right, needs to come up here and confirm that the builds are, in fact, similar. He doesn't have much to worry about just yet. Notice things like this. DeWalt putting a pylon here. This is so that if it is a 2-gate Zealot rush, they can't run around in circles like this and try to keep hitting your workers. Pylons like this here as well forces a vertical mine from this. There's an issue where probes will kind of pull up to the side. Again, stuff that if you're, you know, even a veteran watcher of StarCraft, you might not be able to appreciate, unless it's pointed out. So last game, Tank opted to basically sack his probe inside of DeWalt's main to get extra scouting time, which made him feel comfortable going DTs. DeWalt did manage to wiggle out of that position. Now, DeWalt can't get in. He sees a Zealot, and he doesn't see more Zealots coming out, so he knows it's probably a 1-gate. But at the same time, he doesn't know, and look at this, very intentional moment here by Tank. He's going to hide this Dragoon as if maybe DTs are coming extremely fast, kind of like the last game. Meanwhile, Tank is eventually going to lose this probe, but his idea is basically he'll give up intel later on to get some better idea of what's happening right now. And this has got to be frustrating. Nice flick attack there from DeWalt. The probe has now been taken out. Both players are in the dark. It's going to be DTs again here. Now, funnily enough, not showing the Dragoon and just showing the Zealot here to the probe that was scouting earlier on. In my head, if I was there, I'd think, okay, it's going to be fast DTs again. But instead what he's doing is he's hidden the fact that he's going to go 3-gate Dragoon. Now, we all know that 3-gate Dragoon cannot kill a DT, but at the same time, it gets a little bit more complicated than that. It's going to be 2-gate DT instead of 1. That's important to note because now you have options to send one DT to the main while the other one defends. If you go 1-gate, a lot of times you just don't have the same kind of ability to make decisions that can let you win in both ways here. But let's not beat around the bush. If Tank doesn't have detection, Tank is just not, in the long run, going to be able to win. You know, the DTs can kill your Robo that's making, kill your Forge or your cannons, and ultimately kill everything else you have. One other possible scenario that can happen here is if Tank is really fast on his feet, he can identify what's happening, that it's going to be 3-gate Dragoon, and make a Forge, hide a cannon and a Nexus somewhere else, and try to do a kind of weird base trade, so to speak. But I'm getting a little bit worried. The push is going to come out. You always send out your first 5 Dragoons. That's because 5 Dragoons can 2-shot an enemy Dragoon. But at the same time, these DTs are almost halfway done. The Zealot up here in the front, basically to try to tank shots. So it's undeniable that right now, Tank is going to be in a good spot to put pressure. But, you know, we got to ask ourselves, does he have what he needs? He's making a Robo. His Dragoons continue to pump out. So the DTs are going to be here in the front. And kind of a nice positional play here from DeWalt. He's basically using the DTs to try to help defend. And if he does this right, he can plug this up, but he doesn't. Okay, so the DTs come in. Keep in mind that Dragoons, 3 Dragoons can one-shot a probe. And so this DT's got a lot of work. As long as there's 3, a lot of damage can be dealt. But he's not really splitting his shots up that well. Another DT and a Dragoon pop out here. This one is going to assist in trying to eliminate the rest of these Dragoons. Meanwhile, this DT is inbound over here. Almost looks like he made a bit of an L-shaped movement here to move out. I think maybe he thought the Observer might be on the way. And we have the observatory, started. And he's going for the pylon here. Now, it's always interesting to see, you know, what top-level players go for when the DT comes. Like some people I'd see go for the Robo, others. Now, see, he makes the 2 pylons. I almost feel like DeWalt a little bit panicked here. He could have come down and killed that cannon. Instead, he's going to go for workers. DeWalt is at 26 probes, by the way. Tank is dropping down to 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, my God, 12. And so, kind of an interesting approach to this. If he had killed the pylon, he could have maybe done something a little bit different. But I guess the reality is you just kill enough of these probes, get a Nexus up, and I mean, how exactly does Tank play this to recover? He doesn't have another base. He's down in workers, and that's only going to get considerably worse as the second Nexus is going to finish, which means if DeWalt keeps making probes, there's no way that he can stop, catch up is what the word I'm looking for here, in his own workers. And so now the push begins. And, you know, I'm sorry, is there an Observer out now? I guess I don't see one here just yet. Oh, I'm sorry, it's right up here. I was like, that's strange. And so this, I think, is basically going to be it. It seems like DeWalt is going to take the game, and we are going to be going to the next phase of this bracket right now. In kind of an incredible series here from DeWalt. Again, we did not have, foreigner pros here in Korea competing like this until, post-pandemic, and even then we didn't have that many. So to see him play this well against a very established player within the esports scene here, pretty crazy. GG, DeWalt takes that 2-0 in a very, very cheesy, sneaky game, or series, I should say. Fact that they're both going, DeWalt goes DTs both games. 3-gate goon, very strong, but you have to be very sharp. The moment you see those DTs coming, if you don't handle it perfectly, you're usually in trouble. 1-gate DT, it's a different story. Usually 3-gate goons beats that, but 2-gate, it's a little bit different. Thank you so much for watching the series. Again, if you enjoy content like this, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, turn on alert bells, all that YouTuber stuff. And again, check out tastelessthreads.com for my cool merch. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.